Barrie City Council approved the 2026 municipal budget with multiple amendments, including changes to development charges, ecological offset payments, and a major funding boost for downtown events. During the meeting, Council finalized the city's 2026 business plan and capital investment budget. Amendments included granting delegated authority to accept grant funding, deferring certain ecological offset payments for compliant developers, and allocating more than 500,000 in one-time funding to the Downtown Barrie BIA for event programming and safety infrastructure. The discussion around downtown event funding sparked a broader conversation on public safety, permanent infrastructure like retractable bollards, and the future of pedestrian friendly initiatives such as open air Dunlop.
Some of the costs that that the BIA endured, between 75 and 100,000 just in the temporary bollards. I don't think they're called that. They're the new style ones that flip over. I'm not sure if they're still referred to as a bollard, but a cost like that, in light of what's happened, I think people are a little bit more sensitive of the importance of closures and good closures of streets. So it's a little bit of that, and booking artists sooner than later gives you a better opportunity at the pool of artists that are available, and it's probably more cost effective. So the money is for some of that, and we've made an investment in it. So because it was a lot, I should say it was more successful than we kind of forecast. So that's why there's a little bit more of an investment, so that we're able to, do everything in our power to have the best sort of concert series.
Council members expressed support for local arts, public access to free events, and the economic impacts of festivals, while also calling for long-term strategy to balance cost and sponsorships.
Opportunities for the local artists, for bringing in a concert series, for having a butter tart festival, because I love butter tarts. And, I'm not the antique car guy, although I was there too, because it was something to do that day in our beautiful downtown. I think these are very good things for a city that we've talked about for many, many, many years and just not done. And now we've had a year to go through it, to take a look at it, to see what works, what doesn't. I think that we've put safety first, which is a really, really good thing. It's also a really, really, really expensive thing. And, that's kind of why we're here, right? Like, to make sure that these events that are good for the public happen, they happen in a safe way, it's a happy environment. And that's what I saw this summer.
The meeting also included recognition of Remembrance Day efforts and a visit from delegates of Barrie's sister city, Saginaw, Michigan. While Affordability Committee meeting was held to review a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 324 and 328 Ardagh Road, but no decision was made. A final staff recommendation is expected early next year. The proposal is to redevelop two single-detached lots into a 51-unit back-to-back townhouse development. The developer, Innovative Planning Solutions, is requesting increased building height, greater density, reduced setbacks, and private waste collection. While the proposal aligns with Barrie's official plan and was framed as a response to housing demand, concerns were raised by both staff and Ward 6 Councillor Negusi. The concerns included impacts on privacy, infrastructure capacity, parking, matured trees, and the lack of clear affordability commitments.
The height and density, Ms. Banfield. What planning rationale supporting the proposal increase in building the height from 10 meters to 15 and the floor area from 60% to 122%? Increase, and how do we this change align with the city official plan objectives for growth, housing diversity, and neighborhood character?
Through you, Chair Harris, to Councillor Negusi. So the proposal is requested to be about 4.5 stories, but it's important for people to know that the actual zone that it's proposed to be turned into, that RM2 zone, actually permits a building height of up to 20 meters for walk-up apartments. So even the increase to the 15-meter height is still less than what a walk-up apartment could be in the same zone. So the height and the density, everything that the applicant is asking for is under review. They have submitted a lot of plans and studies and reports to support the justification, and staff will take a look at everything that they've submitted and see if there's any sort of amendments or changes to make sure that the development is as good as it can be.
The application is still under technical review, with staff evaluating its compatibility with neighborhood character and city's growth policies. Following is the coverage of the meetings.
Well, welcome to Barrie City Council, and we've got a full house this evening. Tonight's a special night as we're going to be completing the 2026 budget for city operations and for our capital budget. And it wouldn't be the council chambers without our student mayor, His Worship Giovanni Saldana Carrera, representing St. Marguerite de Ville Catholic Elementary School. Welcome again to tonight's meeting. Good week? Wonderful. Okay, so we've been able to go through, we're in the confirmation of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes from the meeting from November 5th? Seeing there's none, the minutes are adopted as printed. And we're going to move into committee reports. Deputy Mayor, I believe that's you. You have the motions.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Negussi, that Section A of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, now circulated, be received.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Negussi, that Section A of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, now circulated, be received. This is 25G231, report of the Executive Committee dated October 29th, 2025. 25G232, report of the Finance and Responsible Governance Committee dated October 29th, 2025. Any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Negussi, that Section B of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Negussi, that Section B of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted. 25G233, 25G234, 25G235. These are the confidential acquisition of land matter for Bradford Street, the acquisition of land matter for Bradford Street, and 2025 Q3 year-to-date internal audit status update. Are there any questions or comments with regards to these motions? I'm seeing none, so all those in favor? And it carries. We'll now move on to the next item, which is Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Negussi, that Section C of the General Committee report November 5th, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Negussi. The Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted. This is 25G236, 2026 Business Plan and Budget, City Operations and Infrastructure Investment Funding portions. Are there any questions or comments from members of Council this evening? Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I have a few amendments, if I may. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Negussi, that motion 25G236 of Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025 concerning the 2026 Business Plan and Budget, City Operations and Infrastructure Investment Fund portion be amended by adding the following paragraph. That two of the following officers, either the mayor, clerk, chief financial officer, or treasurer or their delegates, be authorized to execute agreements that may be required to accept grant funding for other levels of government and partners to reduce expenditures assets, assist with program services and capital projects. And I could speak to it, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Negussi, that motion 25G236 of Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, concerning the 2026 business plan and budget, city operations and infrastructure investment funding portions be amended by adding the following paragraph: that two of the following officers, either the mayor, clerk, chief financial officer, and treasurer, or their designates, be authorized to execute any agreements that may be required to accept grant funding from other levels of government or their partners to reduce expenditures associated with program services and capital projects. Deputy Mayor, do you want to give a quick explanation or no?
Yeah. So basically what it's doing is it's giving delegated authority at times where there's some funding opportunities where council may not be sitting, or it's time. So it's giving delegated authority to the mentioned people to try to get as much grant funding as possible.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions or comments on the motion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? Carries. Deputy Mayor.
I have another amendment moved by myself, second by Councillor Negussi, that motion 25G236, Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, concerning the 2026 business plan and budget, city operations, infrastructure, and investment funding portion be amended by adding the following paragraph. A, the ecological offset policy be amended as followed. Those who are in compliance with the ecological permit process, including not limited to obtaining the proper permits prior to tree cutting, to defer any ecological offset greater than $25,000 until occupancy, the first permit for both residents and non-residential use is issued. B, the deferral of payment of fees of any amount is not available for any tree removed without a permit. And C, that a one-time non-transferable deferral of payment of fees be secured by an agreement registered on title. And I can speak to that.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Negussi, that motion 25G236 of Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, concerning the 2026 business plan and budget, city operations and infrastructure investment funding portions be amended by adding the following paragraphs. A, that the ecological offset policy be amended to allow for those who are in compliance with the ecological permit process, including and not limited to obtaining the proper permits prior to tree cutting, to defer any ecological offsetting payment greater than $25,000 until occupancy, the first permit for both residential and non-residential uses is issued. B, that deferral of the payment of fees of any amount is not available for any trees removed without a permit. And C, that a one-time non-transferable deferral of the payment of fees be secured by an agreement registered on title. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. So this council has taken a very bold approach on development, and we've tried to do anything possible to lessen the upfront costs. It's been a little bit of a hindrance to development. So by doing this, it kind of puts it in line with some of our DC deferrals. And why there's a few things. I don't want anybody who's cut illegal trees down to think that this is their exit. If you didn't follow the rules, you're not eligible for this incentive. And working with staff, and thank you for all your help. The amount of 25, there's some, as little as $1,500 and stuff. And so to register a deferral and go through all the process, it's actually not an effective use of resources, and the administration nightmare. So we've come to a happy medium, and we have ecological offsets in surplus. And I think Councillor Reitman and I had spoke that there's probably something in the near future where we could maybe find a path forward to planting as many trees as we possibly can in light of the ice storm and stuff. But I think this is another example of Barrie being very bold and doing everything we possibly can with the tools in our toolbox to incentivize development, to try to get us out of this housing crunch.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? And it's approved. We have the budget now twice amended. And we have one more from Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Sorry, Mayor Nuttall, but this is my last one of the evening. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Morales that motion 25G236 of Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025 concerning the 2026 business and budget city operations and infrastructure investment funding portion be amended by adding the following paragraph. That a one-time funding of $530,000 be provided to the Downtown Barrie Business Improvement Area for the purpose of funding 2025 and 2026 events and operational costs, with $475K being allocated from the Tourist Reserve and $55,000 from the Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve. B, that staff report back to the Infrastructure and Investment Committee regarding operational and infrastructure incentives in support of events and festivals in the downtown. And I can speak to that.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, that motion 25G236 of Section C of the General Committee report dated November 5th, 2025, concerning the 2026 business plan and budget, city operations and infrastructure investment funding portions be amended by adding the following paragraph. A, the one-time funding of $530K be provided to the Downtown Barrie Business Improvement Area for the purpose of funding the 2025-26 events and operational costs, with $475K being allocated from the Tourism Reserve and $55K from the Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve. B, the staff report back to the Infrastructure and Community Investment Committee regarding operational infrastructure initiatives in support of events and festivals in the downtown. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. So a little bit of history, if you allow. It started off a few years ago, 2 years ago. We had a music festival. We took some funding that was being used for an operation that wasn't really, wasn't doing what we thought it would do. And we started out with a lot of local artists and stuff like that. And then, you know, if I can be frank, you actually seen the opportunity and grew it immensely. And seeing the outcome of it it's something that, you know, brings out people in our downtown for all the right reasons. It exposes that downtown is a beautiful place that we invest in as a council. And, you know, I think of, you know, things like the affordability of life today. And there's a lot of people that, you know, wouldn't get out of their house. They wouldn't go to a concert if, you know, it had to pay. And, you know, we have, I'm going to say movie night at Meridian. I know there's fancy names, but I'd rather speak in plain English. It's a concert series, and we play movies at Meridian for families, which, you know, in an expensive world right now for families, and we as a council are investing in the quality of life of people, and it's been a great success, and I would love to build on the momentum of everything that's occurred in the last year. Seeing, you know, from the opening concert of about 8,500 people and right into the end with, you know, lots of activities and stuff, keeping the numbers up in that range. I think the economic spinoff for our downtown and the exposure from people all over, I think that's something that this council understands, that, you know, the city goes with the downtown. So.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions or comments from members of, I've got Councillor Kunkel.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Deputy Mayor Thompson. Thank you for the context around it. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but more of a question around, I'm trying to put this in the context of, is this atypical, or are we in some way, is this funding to expand programs and it's net new one-time dollars to kind of give seed funding to allow that expansion to happen? Or is this a forecasted need for recovery in any way because of the shortfall, because of the economic climate? I know we're seeing things down across the board. So is it to maintain current that has taken on a greater forecasted operating expense for next year, so we're not reducing anything? Or is it for the sole purpose of expanding and enhancing? If it's fair to ask you. Okay.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall. So great question. So it's a little bit of both. Seeing the success of it, sometimes successful events come with unforeseen expenses, garbage collection, security and stuff. And actually the section B of it, and I'll let Councilor Morales, who seconded, and I know he's been discussing this around the table, and when he was the chair of the BIA, some of the costs that the BIA endured, between 75 and 100,000 just in the temporary bollards. I don't think they're called that. They're the new style ones that flip over. I'm not sure if they're still referred to as a bollard, but a cost like that, in light of what's happened, I think people are a little bit more sensitive of the importance of closures and good closures of streets. So it's a little bit of that, and booking artists sooner than later gives you a better opportunity at the pool of artists that are available, and it's probably more cost effective. So the money is for some of that, and we've made an investment in it. So because it was a lot, I should say it was more successful than we kind of forecast. So that's why there's a little bit more of an investment, so that we're able to, do everything in our power to have the best sort of concert series.
I'm going to redirect part of your question over to Councilor Morales with regards to the improvements, the physical improvements that are needed, and I'm going to consider this not a speaking opportunity, but an answer to the question. So, Councilor Morales. That doesn't mean go on for 10 minutes.
Any technicality you want to call it. All I'm seeing is my microphone is on. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Thompson. You described it pretty accurately. So the reason we're discussing this is due to the very success of Open Air Dunlop, of the pedestrianization of our downtown community. The old days of, take out a portable blockade or giant cone and a security card, we have succeeded our way out of that. And so as a result, the strategy is retractable bollards, which are permanent infrastructure, which is safe infrastructure. I don't think I need to remind anybody of the Terrorism Act in Vancouver and elsewhere. And it's also more practical. If we're going to pay for bodies at the festival, we want them activating and doing things, not necessarily standing there. And I believe that the retractable bollards, when I went back when I was a chair of the BIA, and I actually spoke to a vendor who was in this line of business. It's very limited people, and I was getting a scope of the work. It wasn't yet to go to tender. It is compliant with requirements that the fire department need or other emergency response. So because we're now at the point where we want to continue this activation, it's now at the point where it's better to invest in that permanent public infrastructure instead of having this reoccurring cost. And so the success is why we're here.
Councillor Congo.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Nuttall. I appreciate that clarification and love hearing that that's being looked at. I know that's been a conversation around this table and a high interest around really looking at pedestrianizing Open Air Dunlop and extending that. And that's always kind of come into conflict with who's doing it and who's available and on a weekend and how do you activate that from a safety measure. So I think that's wonderful. And so maybe one comment, I'll frame it into a question. How restrictive are we? And I'm assuming it'll just be left up to the BIA to identify, how best to use this, report back or share back how they've done it. But I guess my comment would be, I totally respect that the BIA has a particular geographic area and they do an amazing job. And we've leveraged the expertise of the team there for other events and activation. But we've also broadened out of the great themes between culture days and what we're doing as a city staff, but also leveraging that. And I would love to see some consideration, or at least knowing if it's not in scope, of how do we bring some of the, and I'll call it more simple activities, out of the downtown and into different parks and green spaces like Lawn Chair Luminata, where we can activate access to those types of fun pieces for those that may not get all the way downtown, but can actually have an easy ripple effect with probably not a lot of heavy logistics or major events, but where we're starting to see the spread and scale of that could be reasonably done or considered.
So I think a couple of things. One, conversation that our clerk and GM Schmidt and I were having was about like what the city's capability is inside of this concert series / downtown festivals conversations. Do we have the resources inside to do what we're giving the resources outside? And, you know, I think that there's going to be an internal conversation, quite frankly. I wasn't planning about talking about this tonight, but there's going to be an internal conversation about like, how do we use our resources most effectively? Is this the most effective way to do it? We know that we already have to do December 31st. We do Canada Day. We do all these things around the city, and you know, maybe that there is a better way to invest our dollars. I think we also have to remember that when it comes to specifically the concert series, because those dollars for the I'm going to say this wrong, bollards. Did I say that right? Bollards? I should go back to high school. I think the conversation is not just about the concert series, it's also about the other events that happen. The last thing we want, we all know, I remember we all had a conversation about this, last thing we want is for somebody with either ill intent or mental health issues or whatever it is that results, being able to drive down a pedestrian road. And we had that conversation around this table. So I think that there's part of this that's about operations and about who's doing what and who's most, you know, effective at it. Part of it is about capital spends to ensure that the operating dollars we're sending out the door, you know, if it's $500,000 to put these permanent ones, or at least ones that are semi-permanent in, versus $100,000 a year in putting in temporary, like there's a big ROI there on moving ahead with it. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of different pieces to this. Over the next year, we'll have staff figure out if this is the most effective way to spend these dollars, and if there's ways to use the dollars internally to then have not just the effect on the downtown, but also have those events happening elsewhere. So that's a long answer to a short question, but I'm going to go to Councillor Hamilton, who I had next, and then I'm going to come back to Councillor Corser.
Thank you. Actually, my questions were posed by Councillor Kungl. So nothing further. I can say, can I have a comment, or am I supposed to only ask a question and comment? I guess just a comment, getting this half an hour ago. My question was similar to Councillor Kungl's, is how much of this is to like a deficit to recoup what was lost versus how much is net new? And you guys kind of answered it, that's a balance of both. I guess just a bit more detail and seeing how much of a deficit was it and how much are we actually looking at net new activities. And for me, one-time funding, like I'm just wondering, is there going to be a strategy or plan in place so that we're not having the exact same conversation next year? So fully supportive of the work that we're doing down there, just wanting to make sure we're not going down a rabbit hole where next year they're coming back asking for $750,000 and then $1 million. So if you can elaborate on that, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, I'll jump on this. So well, first of all, the conversation we just had in terms of like looking at internal versus external on how we plan these things out. So let's get that information. I think there should be a report at some point. The BIA is also going to be coming and presenting the results of this summer as well, which I think is part of the transparency piece we need to make sure gets out there. And then we'll be able to go forward from there. You know, we had a conversation this afternoon, Andre and I, with the mayor of Newmarket, and this idea, like what had been moved about stopping one service that wasn't making sense, and then putting it into a bit of a what was it? Music festival, and then he talked about what they did in Newmarket, and they have imitation bands. What do you call that? Cover. Push the button to get the answer. Cover bands, and they have a sponsorship of that event of close to $100,000 from a major bank. And so I think what we had last year was, hey, we think it's going to cost this, and then council said every time you close a road, you have to have these barriers, okay, which was not even in the original estimate. So you can just go put 100 grand onto that right away, or 90 or 80 or whatever it was. And then on top of that, kind of feeling out the way. So as we look forward, number one, we should know what the costs are now. Number two, we're getting at talent earlier. Number three, we need to know, let's pretend this was the best job. Let's pretend that it was the lowest cost it could be, by making moves on the capital side to try to reduce costs year over year, and also having our staff make sure that this is the most effective way. I think we'll be able to come back 6, 8, 10 months from now and go, this is how we proceed forward. But if there's a request next year for $475,000, like I won't be supporting it. There's I think an amount that makes sense, and there needs to be sponsorship put in place like there is in other cities. Councillor Corser.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I just trying to piece together the information that was put forward about the security bollards. Okay. I remember that myself and Councillor Harvey had put a motion forward about staff to investigate those bollards, and I don't remember anything coming back on that from staff investigation, unless I missed it. Like, that's quite possible, but.
Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Through you to Councillor Corser. Councillor Corser, the motion directed staff to include as a potential intake in the budget secure bollards, which would deal with the terrorist type activity that happened on the west coast of Canada. Staff have done a fair amount of work on that. It is a very broad spectrum, which is very expensive. Instead of providing it as an intake, staff are going to report back singularly with staff report and lay out the comprehensive approach council may want to consider as it relates to security of those types of events. So it won't be as an intake as part of the budget, as you can see. It'll be a standalone item for council to consider in the new year.
Yeah, because I remember that conversation, part of that conversation was the mobility of those to be able to be moved to different areas if necessary across the city for different events in future. So that was part of, I was wondering if the expense was not just for the downtown core, but for a use across our whole city, which might have at an event, the bollards, the permanent bollards for downtown, which is an excellent idea for any event. I'm just wondering if the cost was considered for the whole entire city of what would cost to do that kind of security or that kind of mitigation of a risk in other events across the city.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Corser. Councillor Corser, I think you've articulated the complexity of the issue, which is cheap and cheerful and big and safe. And the whole spectrum in between those, and the costs and the deployment and frankly, the amount of staff you need to manage a program to effectively provide that level of protection that could be considered. And that will be a council decision, but staff need additional time to really sort of paint that portrait for council to render a decision on if they want to invest that money, where they want to invest that money, what that program looks like. So that would be something that council should expect in the new year. It just wasn't feasible to do it as part of a simple intake for the budget.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Rietma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And very quickly, we've had 1 year of experience, and we all should learn from our experience. And I think this is exactly what we're doing here. I think one of the things that's really hasn't been mentioned yet is the fact that we had a whole series of emerging local artists that performed. And I think that's a great benefit to our city. They got a little bit of exposure, got some experience as well. And I think that anything that we do to help emerging artists is well worth it. So,
thank you, Councillor. You've already spoken.
I just wanted to make a comment. Emerging artists that you got on stage.
There was a little bit of comments. It wasn't suitable for TV, so we're not going to let the microphone go on. If I just really speak to this very quickly, and then we'll go. I really think that the idea that we have opportunities for the local artists, for bringing in a concert series, for having a butter tart festival, because I love butter tarts, and I'm not the antique car guy, although I was there too, because it was something to do that day in our beautiful downtown. I think these are very good things for a city that we've talked about for many, many, many years and just not done. And now we've had a year to go through it, to take a look at it, to see what works, what doesn't. I think that we've put safety first, which is a really, really good thing. It's also a really, really, really expensive thing. And, that's kind of why we're here, right? Like, to make sure that these events that are good for the public happen, they happen in a safe way, it's a happy environment. And that's what I saw this summer. I went down to 2 out of the 4 of them, really enjoyed myself. Brett Kissel put on a good show, I put on a good show, and we all had a really good evening. I didn't see any bad behavior at the concerts at all. Don't see bad behavior at the movie nights. These are good, wholesome family opportunities. It is what we want. It's who we want downtown, and hopefully those individuals will come a couple hours early and buy a coffee and check out the new stores and shops in downtown, because there are some great places to buy different things downtown, and we move forward. And I think we're now at a point where there's one person said it to me today. There's a product, right? Like, we had an idea last year. Now there's a product, and we know that the combination of these events are bringing in hundreds of thousands of people, and we need whoever it is, the BIA, to go out and now market and sell the opportunity to sponsors to come in. And I think we can look back at this time next year and say either, hey, it was a success, we learned from the mistakes, and we move on. I think we've learned from the mistakes on undershooting the security budget. We're trying to right size that now, and hopefully others do as well. So with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And it carries. And now we'll go to the budget vote as a 3 times amended. Is there any other amendments to the budget? Seeing none. All those in favor? And it carries. Give me one moment here. My daughter asked that I put this on my desk tonight, so I did that. We will go into inquiries, because there's no deferred business direct motions or presentations. Any inquiries this evening? Announcements. I see Councillor Kungl just roaring to go. But Deputy Mayor, do you have any announcements first?
I don't.
If I may, I think you covered most of mine last week, but I did just want to extend a significant thank you to all businesses and residents across the city that did support the Poppy campaign. That probably stood out for a couple of hours in the cold if you didn't have the chance to be in Costco or anywhere. But again, many doors opened across the city for businesses, so thank you for that. And just want to pass along that note of appreciation for those that were able to make it to the cenotaph or participate and support in some way.
Yes, thank you. And it was a wonderful campaign. And I think I do want to take the opportunity to thank perhaps Mr. Schmidt, if you can put this through. I believe this is you. All of the work that was done for Tuesday, for yesterday, for downtown. Am I in the right place? Perfect. Kind of, sort of. It's a group of people. Perfect. Shared responsibility. I love that term. It means everybody's accountable and no one's accountable. All the folks that contributed to downtown, it was perfect down there yesterday. It was clean. It was well organized. The roads were shut well in advance. The parading area was fantastic. I had nothing but rave reviews from all of the folks down there, all of the veterans of the Legion afterwards. It was, and the Army, Navy, Air Force. It was very, very, very well done. Probably the best I've seen it in my years. So thank you so much to all the folks who made Remembrance Day happen downtown, including the Legion, who I think organizes it. Pardon?
I was going to say, can you improve the weather next time?
Yeah, that's a federal thing, as you know. Yeah, yeah. When it's good, they get the credit. When it's bad, they get the credit. Okay, so I have no other announcements. Oh, sorry, Councillor Harris. I do not. Would you like to? No, but you can.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. So we have a group from our sister city of Saginaw, Michigan here as we speak. So I just wanted to make a note that they are here and we're pleased that they're with us. We have Brandon Hosbeck, the city fire chief. So I know he's looking forward to meeting our chief tomorrow. We have Ben Weiland, who is the CDAM Development Fellow. Amy Bidwell, who is the Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services Director. I know she'll be meeting with Mr. Forsyth tomorrow as well. We have Brandon Keenan Lachelle from their parks Director. We have Steve Hensley, their Community Economic Development Director. Jill Shorkey, who's with the Go Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. And Mandy Von Otegan, who's also with the Great Lakes Regional Visitors and Convention Bureaus. And pardon me, and also Victor French from Saginaw Valley State University, who's Director of Internal Admissions. So we are really excited that they're here. So those of you who track along our international relations efforts, Mayor Nuttall signed the agreement with Saginaw last June. And so we're excited, and I know he's a big fan of Mayor Moore, who couldn't be with us this time, but really great timing to have the Saginaw group here, and they'll be touring the city and meeting with our leaders of various departments to make sure that we can look at ways to learn from each other, share, collaborate, and create synergies between Saginaw, Michigan and Barrie, Ontario. So thank you, Mayor Nuttall.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Councillor Harris. Any other last-minute announcements before we go on? I'm going to be a little bit liberal with the announcement time and just remind everybody that all those dollars that are going towards these items in the downtown, if you know someone who stayed at a hotel recently, thank them, because the City of Barrie taxpayers don't have to pay for them. It's out-of-towners who are coming to use our hotels. And so to the hotel owners, thank you for being in existence. And to those who stay at them, thank you for funding this beautiful concert series downtown. We'll now move into the bylaws, which I think there's only one.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Negussi. Leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 118, the confirmation bylaw.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Negussi, the confirmation bylaw that leave be granted to introduce this bill and the following bill be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 118. Any questions or comments with regards to the confirmation bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Negussi and Councillor Corser. All those in favor?
Public meeting is to review an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Cal Park Ardagh Road Incorporated. Subject lands known as 324 and 328 Ardagh Road. Members of committee will be listening to the presentations and comments received during the public meeting, but will not be making comments or debating the items tonight. Committee members will have an opportunity to provide comments when the staff report is considered by general committee at a later date. Interested persons wishing to receive notification of the staff report can sign the notification form at the back of the council chambers or by emailing cityclerks@barrie.ca. Michelle Banfield, Executive Director of Development Services, would you please confirm that the notifications were conducted in accordance with the Planning Act for tonight's public meeting?
Yes, Chair Harris, it was.
Thank you. That brings us now to our first public meeting, and I will now call upon Adam Fiorni, Innovative Planning Solutions, to provide the presentation concerning a zoning bylaw amendment for 324 and 328 Ardagh Road.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's public meeting, and thank you for attending. My name is Adam Fiorini, a planner at Innovative Planning Solutions, and I am joined tonight by my colleague, Nick Scarat. IPS has been retained by the client, Cal Park Ardagh Road, Inc., to submit this application for zoning bylaw amendment for the lands municipally known as 324 and 328 Ardagh Road in the city of Barrie. The purpose of this public meeting is to formally introduce the application and our intent of developing the subject lands for residential back-to-back townhouse dwellings. The subject lands contain two parcels of land, 324 Ardagh Road and 328 Ardagh Road, as pictured on the screen, and have a total combined area of 1.21 acres and a total frontage of 58 meters along Ardagh Road. Specifically, the lands are located along the north side of Ardagh Road, south of Auburn Court, and west of Stony Brook Crescent, east of Neva Road. There currently exists two single-detached dwellings on the subject lands with associated garage structures, both of which are to be demolished through the process of this application. Access to the dwellings is found on Ardagh Road through two residential driveways, which are also to be removed. The lands hold an irregular parcel shape, with 328 Ardagh being shorter in length than the elongated 324 Ardagh parcel. The lands are centered within an existing residential subdivision comprised of largely single-detached dwellings, with commercial uses servicing areas near Highway 400. I will now summarize the existing land use designation and zoning afforded to the subject lands with existing permissions. Firstly, the lands are designated neighborhood area within the City of Barrie Official Plan 2024, which generally encompasses a wide range of residential uses and would permit the proposed development in its entirety. No official plan amendment would be required. Through the City of Barrie Zoning Bylaw 2009-141, the lands are zoned single-detached dwelling first density R1, which generally permits lower density residential uses and thus would not encompass the proposed development. However, it is important to note that the proposed development occurs along a growth corridor and meets the official plan density requirements while providing additional housing variety within the neighborhood. The contemplating housing variety is presented through the proposed 51 residential units across 3 blocks as shown on screen of 4.5-story back-to-back condo townhouses. Included within the development will be 3 amenity areas, 1 to serve each block. Additionally, a private roadway and associated landscaped areas will be provided with a total of 73 parking spaces, all at grade. The next 2 slides demonstrate proposed renderings for the development, showing regard for streetscape features while providing the appropriate setbacks to allow for integration and transition within the existing community. This rendering demonstrates an example of the amenity area to be provided within the development in between 2 blocks of the proposed townhouse dwellings. As aforementioned, the neighborhood area designation broadly permits a range of residential uses. As such, the proposed development conforms to the official plan with no amendment required. Also important to note, Ardagh Road is classified arterial within the City of Barrie official plan. However, through this application for zoning bylaw amendment, we are intending to rezone the lands from single-detached first density R1 to residential second density, multiple dwelling RM2, which is supportive of townhouse units. Also proposed are a variety of site-specific exceptions, which will be presented on the following slide. However, it is important to note that many of these exceptions would be removed through the passing of Barrie's new contemplated zoning bylaw, currently in draft version 3. As demonstrated by the development concept, the proposed development has taken into account an efficient and compact design. The requested provisions would allow for this functional design to operate while maintaining the general intent of the requested zone. They have been numbered on the diagram for ease of reference. It is of our opinion that the properties represent an underutilized parcel of land, and through the proposed development, we'll see an optimization of both the land and the singular access point along Ardagh Road. So to summarize, the lands are within the City of Barrie's built-up area. They are located within an existing residential subdivision. They meet the policies of growth along arterial roads. The proposed development respects the existing low-rise character of the neighborhood while providing appropriate setbacks to surrounding uses. It utilizes and promotes existing services and provides for a functional design contributing to residential housing market needs and city growth projections. Furthermore, to support our application, there have also been several studies conducted. All studies have determined that this project is feasible and functional based on Barrie's new OP and the new proposed zoning currently in draft 3. A list of these studies are as follows. Functional servicing report, geotechnical report, hydrogeological investigation, environmental site assessment, photometrics plan, and traffic and parking brief. Before we conclude, it is important to know that we have reviewed comments received from the public and NVCA. We believe that these comments have been carefully integrated into the design to offer a housing type compatible with policies and neighborhood character, offering growth opportunities for attainable housing variety. That concludes my presentation for this evening, and I would like to thank committee, staff, and all residents for attending this public meeting presentation. Nick Scarat from Innovative Planning Solutions will be available to answer any questions you may have regarding our application and this proposed development. Thank you and have a great evening.
Great, and thank you. I will now call upon Riley Anderson, planner from the Development Services Department, to provide an update on the status of the application.
Good evening, Chair Harris and members of Affordability Committee. Planning staff are currently completing the technical review process associated with this application. In addition to the memo provided to the Affordability Committee, here's an update regarding the status of the application, comments from the public, and the primary planning and land use matters being considered. A neighborhood meeting was held on May 5th, 2025, with 20 attendees, including Ward 6 Councillor Nagusi, the applicant's consultants, and planning staff. Members of the public provided comments related to the following matters: concerns with increased density, concerns with the proposed height and perceived loss of privacy on neighboring properties, protection and preservation of existing mature boundary trees, concerns with reduced landscape buffer areas and development setbacks, and concern regarding the proposed parking ratio and increased demand for on-site parking. The application is currently under review by planning staff, the city's technical departments, and external agencies. The primary planning and land use matters being considered by staff at this time include compliance with the provincial planning policy and city's official plan, appropriateness of the requested site-specific provisions to the city's zoning bylaw to accommodate the proposed development, integration of the proposed development concept into the existing neighborhood and conformity with the envisioned development and character of the area, ensuring that any shared boundary trees and private vegetation is protected from proposed development activities in accordance with city standards, confirmation that the proposed development can be supported by existing and/or planned services and infrastructure, and the impacts that the development may have on traffic operations and pedestrian safety. A detailed analysis of these considerations and site-specific site-specific provisions will be provided when a staff report is brought forward for general committee's consideration. Staff will continue to work with the applicant to address feedback received through the public consultation process, as well as comments raised through the analysis of these applications by technical staff and our agency partners. A staff report providing a recommendation to general committee on the proposed amendment is anticipated to be brought forward in the first quarter of 2026. All submission materials and key dates, along with my contact information, are available for viewing online on the city's proposed development webpage under Ward 6. This now concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Great, thank you. I believe we still have no folks registered for online. Okay. If there are any members of the public who wish to provide comments, please approach the podium and begin by stating your first and last name and address for the record. Okay. Looks like we have no members here who want to speak to this. So I would now call upon Ward 6 Councillor Nagusi. Do you have any questions of clarification?
Thank you, Chair Harris. Thank you, Adam, for presentation. I'll have a few questions. Probably for staff, goes to Ms. Banfield. The height and density, Ms. Banfield. What planning rationale supporting the proposal increase in building the height from 10 meters to 15 and floor area from 60% to 122% increase? And how do we this change align with the city official plan objectives for growth, housing diversity, and neighborhood character?
Through you, Chair Harris, to Councillor Nagusi. So the proposal is requested to be about 4.5 stories, but it's important for people to know that the actual zone that it's proposed to be turned into, that RM2 zone, actually permits a building height of up to 20 meters for walk-up apartments. So even the increase to the 15-meter height is still less than what a walk-up apartment could be in the same zone. So the height and the density, everything that the applicant is asking for is under review. They have submitted a lot of plans and studies and reports to support the justification, and staff will take a look at everything that they've submitted and see if there's any sort of amendments or changes to make sure that the development is as good as it can be.
Okay, thank you. So the setback and straight cap, how will the reduced front yard setback and porch encroachment affect privacy, sunlight access, and the overall step cap appearance? Probably that goes to the presenter, or, yeah, Adam. Or...
Through you, Mr. Chair, to address the comment about front yard setback and the porches. In the OP talks of building locations and framing the municipal street. The setback that's required under this zone is 7 meters. We're proposing a reduction of that to help increase the interior amenity space within the development to provide for more landscaping, as well as there's a development just to the west of this site at 340 Ardagh Road that was permitted to have exterior side yards, which is the front yard on Ardagh Road, at 2.6 meters and porches at 1.7 meters. So through that previous approval, we felt that this type of development setback is in line with that future streetscape of Ardagh Road.
Okay, follow up. Can they given the increased density and reduced setback, how will the design ensure adequate fire and emergency service access in the compliance, with the Ontario Building Code?
Through you, Chair, to answer the question. As part of our submission package, we take into account all the building code and fire access routes accessible to the site to ensure that the design is functional. Through the design review process with the city staff, it has been indicated that the fire route access is meeting requirements for safe housing.
Okay, the other thing is about the waste management. Moloch, Earthbin, who will be responsible for the collection, maintenance? Is it going to be the city, or who will be responsible for that?
Through the chair, Moloch systems are structures that are about 3/4 of the way under the ground. So they're a little bit of a more superior design than a traditional garbage enclosure. Those would be serviced by private pickup and not municipal services.
And the other thing is snow storage. I couldn't find where will the snow, will be stored. Is it on site? Is it? I don't know. So, is there any plan for snow storage?
Through the chair, yes, snow storage is required to be provided on site through the development review process. Those would be located outside of landscape amenity spaces and in locations that do not impact proposed vegetation.
Thank you. And the other thing is, will this development provide any affordability, attainable units, or is it condominium, rental? What's the plan for that?
Through the chair, at this time, we're proposing condominium for this form of development, and through that and the variety of housing type our goal is to make these units attainable and variety for this established neighborhood. At this time, we don't know if those will be affordable units or the layout at this time until we get through detailed design through site plan control.
Okay, thank you. One more question to Ms. Banfield. Ms. Banfield, can the existing municipal infrastructure. I know a resident reached out to me from Ardagh Road. They have the wider concern. The current infrastructure will accommodate the additional 51 units in the area, or do we need any, upgrades requirement on that?
Through you, Chair Harris, to Councillor Negussi, that is one of the items that is under review. The engineering report that was submitted with the application is being reviewed by city staff. Typically in the grand scheme of things, though, 50 units is a pretty overall low unit count, so I'm not necessarily anticipating any issues in terms of capacity, but that is definitely being taken into account at the city staff level review.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Negussi. Without having anybody else in the chamber looking to speak to this, if anyone has any further written comments, you can submit them to Riley Anderson, City Planner, at riley.anderson@barrie.ca.